The Ordinary Concealer retails for $5.80. It contains 0.3 ounces of product. It is a liquid product and it comes in 36 different shades. If you've just turned notifications on, thank you. You do need to go to your phone's settings, scroll down to YouTube, notifications, and make sure that it's toggled on, and that way you get notifications on your phone when I post a new video. Hi, it's Molly and welcome back to my channel. Welcome here if it's your first time and you are here to see a review of the new Ordinary concealers. In today's video, we are going to do swatches of these as well as look at the concealers on up close, indoors, outdoors, on their own, and then with my concealer technique. If you have not yet seen that technique, I will list that video down below as well. I wear the foundation and I'm wearing the foundation today in shade 1.2P, which is technically a pink undertone. I have a peach undertone, as you know if you've watched my undertone videos. These do oxidize, meaning they turn a shade deeper and more orange once they hit the air. So for me, it worked out. If you have a pink undertone, it might be a little bit too warm for you. I purchased the concealers in shade 1.1P and 1.2N. I almost bought this in 1.2P just so that I could have the same shade as the foundation, but it did look really pink online and the 1.1 looked more peachy already. Today I'm going to do just the Ordinary concealers with a little bit of powder. This is the 11P. This is the pink that oxidizes to a peach. See how this looks super light at first? We'll do a little bit up here. I normally don't apply up here, but I'm just so curious. So far, quick observation on side one, it's definitely very brightening. In person, I can see my dark circles coming through, so I am curious how it's going to be tomorrow with the color corrector. This is 1.2N. This is more of a yellow undertone, as you can see from the arm swatches. So I am curious to see how this compares to the peachier tone. So at the moment, I like how brightening it is, but I don't love how it looks on my skin. I haven't even put powder on yet and it really has dried down pretty quickly, so I do like that. I just wish I loved the finish on my eyes as much as I love it on my arm. When I look at the swatches on my arm, I love how they look. To me, it's like that's a really, really nice peach shade, so I had such high hopes for this. But then I go back, let's zoom in so you can see what I mean. Right along here, I feel like I can just really see it. Okay, it is 8:43 p.m. As you can see, I can really just see the product sitting on top of my skin. I wanted it to become one with my skin and it just didn't happen. You can see why I like to put the Becca on first so that I can really get it right here where I have a lot of darkness, and that way it doesn't disrupt my eyeshadow at all. I will just gently touch the top one more time. You can see there's barely any product on my finger, and that's all you need. We're priming it up. Milani is quickly becoming one of my favorite drugstore brands. You see that glow? This is another affordable find that I have been using all the time lately. It's called Going Coconuts from Colourpop. As you can see, it's just a very, very easy to wear neutral color palette. It's only $12, by the way. I'm grabbing a fluffy crease brush. I'll go right here into this light one called Shredded. So you can see how I'm still a little bit dark right here. I just like to work this color in and over my lid, and you can see how much brighter that looks. I've been playing around with this Real Techniques crease brush, so we'll use that one today. And I'm going to go into the shade Culotta, and again, two light, really light taps, and I'll start here just tapping it down on the outside corner. Another two little taps, And then this is a brush from Moda. This brush I think was like $2. So I have been really loving these finds lately. And using this same brush, I'll pick up just a little bit more of the Culotta. This is the Julep taupe eyeliner that I love. And I am going to go underneath my eyes as well with this. I think Cocoa Crush is one of the prettiest shades I have ever seen. And I'll just focus that right on the middle, and then grabbing a liner brush, I'll grab just a little bit of this deepest shade called Nutty, and I'm gonna work that into the top lash line only. And sometimes it feels like this outer corner is just a little bit too light, so I'll grab just the lightest touch of that Nutty. You can see I barely even pressed into the palette, and I'll just deepen up that outer corner ever so slightly. And I'm pulling that in. And then I will grab a clean brush. Sometimes if it feels like it's just a little bit, like there's not enough color here, I'll grab just a little bit of this warm shade. And again, the lightest touch. And just grab a totally clean brush. Because we put that lighter shade down, I don't put anything right here. I feel like it has that brightening yellow shade still. But I just like to blend from the inner corner out to make sure that there's not a harsh line right there. Yuki dook. That is how I use that palette. This is the Ordinary foundation that I was talking about. This is shade 1.2P. It goes on really light, and you should never put it on your cheeks like this. You should always put it on the back of your hand or on a little sterile. So do as I say and not as I do. You can see how this is already starting to turn peach. I do feel like this foundation has pretty decent coverage without it looking heavy. Now, this foundation really does wear for only about 4 hours if you don't use an oil control setting spray. It is not the most long wearing foundation. It really looks beautiful, I think, for the first 4 hours, which is why it's my go-to running an errand foundation. And you see what I mean about how this is so pretty? I think that this foundation is so gorgeous. But anyhow, let's move on. We gotta get to the concealers. I have found that this looks best with the Becca primer underneath and then blend it in with a beauty blender. This is the 1.1P. This is the 1.2N, which is the more yellow. Here is my beauty blender and my finishing spray.
Tight on my sneakers, sync my heartbeat up with the speakers. Tie the laces tight on my sneakers, sync my heartbeat.
So I feel like the beauty blender route is the way to go. It's just not my favorite formula. I feel like the foundation looks really skin-like. I feel like the concealer, I can just see it on my skin. And at first I thought it might be because the 1.1 is lighter than the 1.2 foundation, but this is a 1.2 concealer and it's still, I can still just see it sitting there on top of my skin, even when I do all of my concealer tricks. It definitely looks way better today, I think, but I'm just not sold on this formula yet. It's a little bit too matte. And I don't mind a matte, but it's like that like silky matte that just sits on top of your skin, if that makes sense. Okay, I will set it with a little bit of the Hourglass powder. I mean, I do want to be fair and give this a shot. So that's why I did it on its own and then also with my concealer technique. This is the Hourglass powder that I love. And as you can see, there's barely any in here. So I just get the tiniest amount so that there's not a lot of powder. All right, I'm gonna go do the rest of my makeup and I will see you outside. Wait for the rain to hold out, but it's not stopping. So I actually think you can see the concealer really well. The lighting is better than I expected. And you can see what's happening here with the foundation. It's been a few hours. It still looks pretty good everywhere else, but this is where it gets really oily for me. So let's zoom in on the concealer so you can see everything there. My biggest issue with this concealer is I feel like it almost creates texture and a little bit of scales underneath my eyes where there really isn't that much texture. And I do prefer it with my method, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. It's just, I prefer it that way. And here it looks fine. It's just when I get up close, I'm seeing all of this texture and I'm seeing it crease just slightly. But for me, it's more the texture issue. That's what really bothers me. Let me smile as well. In the past, I've shared more what I like, and I have not done a ton of first impressions because it does take me a little while to formulate my thoughts on what I like or don't like about a product. I like experimenting with it different ways. That's just the makeup artist in me that really likes to see how a product works best. With that being said, here's what I think The Ordinary does very well for both the foundation and the concealers. I think they have an incredible range of inclusive skin tones and undertones, and the price is just pretty unbelievable. I also like, as a person with sensitive skin who has skin that reacts a lot to drugstore products, I think that these are all really gentle. They don't seem to irritate my skin, and I don't feel like the next day my skin isn't clogged. I'm not getting breakouts from these products. Where I think they could improve, I wish that the foundation wouldn't get so oily. As I mentioned, I can wear this for about 4 hours, but for those first 4 hours, my skin looks fabulous, which is why this has become my go-to errand foundation. So I was kind of hoping that the concealers would be the same thing, but really and truly, I feel like they just added so much texture underneath my eyes. I do think on camera it looks really bright. If I'm this far away from somebody, that distance is fine. I think it looks actually really good. Like when I'm looking at it here, I'm like, wow, this looks really nice and bright. It's just when I get up closer, when I go outside, I'm like, this is not the formula for me. I hope that's fair. I do hope that this review was helpful. Let me know what you think below. Let me know what you think of the eye palette. Let me know what you think of the foundation. These are definitely some favorites. I felt like if I knew that the concealer was like kind of a miss, it might be nice to share with you things that I actually really did love. I really do try to stay positive. So there we go. All right, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Make sure to ask any questions below, and I will see you in the next video.
Heartbeat up with the speakers. New age and life can get crazy.